Prepare to embark on an extraordinary adventure as we delve deep into the heart of Parker's gold mining expedition, where fortune meets hard work in a season like no other. In a riveting twist of fate, Parker Schnabel, the mining prodigy, has unearthed an astonishing $14 million worth of shimmering gold during this remarkable season. In spite of the many difficulties and disappointments he encounters, Parker ultimately achieves a significant deal of accomplishment. He takes a chance by putting his most advanced washing facility on very fertile land, which results in complications brought on by an abundance of water. Despite this, Parker is able to find a solution to the problem and continues his search for gold. Mitch had to leave the crew in order to safeguard his family from the neighboring wildfires, which presents the group with yet another challenge with 5 weeks left in the season. Picture yourself standing on the edge of a vast, rugged terrain, with the sun setting behind the horizon, casting a golden hue over the landscape. The clinking of shovels against rock, the rumbling of heavy machinery, and the anticipation in the air create an atmosphere charged with excitement and anticipation. Parker, armed with unwavering determination and a heart full of dreams, has once again pushed the boundaries of what's possible in the world of gold mining. Step into a world where dreams are as precious as the metal they seek, and where the stakes have never been higher. This is a season that will leave you breathless and in awe of the incredible journey that is Parker's record-breaking $14 million gold rush. Brennan assumes leadership and is immediately put under pressure to locate the treasure. They continue their mining operations despite the tensions and disappointments that they are experiencing. Parker, having realized the significance of adhering to the fundamentals, apologizes to Brennan and reiterates that their primary objective is to earn sufficient funds to purchase new land for the following season. A stunning 7,504.9 ounces of gold with a value of close to $14 million are mined by Parker's workers at the conclusion of the season, shattering their previous record for the amount of gold extracted. Celebration and happiness follow the success of the endeavor. Parker is extremely ecstatic about the recent decline in the price of petrol, as well as the rise in the price of gold. This comes at a time when he is getting ready to buy a piece of land in Alaska. Earning money is essential for him in order to save up for the next purchase he intends to make. He takes a risk by operating his most advanced washing plant on the most mineral-rich ground they have ever mined. But the large amount of water offers a risk that the plant would collapse into the pond if it is not handled properly. He takes a risk by operating his most advanced washing plant on the most mineral-rich ground they have ever mined. He was successful in finding a solution to the problem, and he is now eagerly anticipating the prospect of finding gold under the ground. Despite the fact that there are just 5 weeks left in the season, his staff still has a significant amount of work that they need to complete. They are struck a blow, however, when Mitch discovers that there are wildfires in the region close to his property and makes the decision to remove his family in order to protect them from the danger. Brennan is now in charge and must continue to search for the treasure despite the increased amount of stress. His explosive temper is caused by his frustration with the bad job that was done, as well as the obligation to walk the floors. In spite of the challenges, they are pushing forward with the mining operations, and emphasizes how important it is to ensure that their work is consistent with the basics at all times. Before the onset of winter, Parker is going to require Brendan's assistance in clearing the runway of any mine debris. They plan to earn a profit that is sufficient to enable them to purchase additional acreage in time for the following growing season. In the penultimate segment of the current season, Parker's crew is successful in extracting a total of 7,504.9 troy ounces of gold, which, based on the high prices of gold in the year 2020, has a worth of around $14 million. The group now holds the new record thanks to this accomplishment. To celebrate the accomplishment, cheers and laughing are used throughout the entire process. As the reserves that Parker Schnabel and his crew have begun to deplete, they are faced with the challenge of locating new mining land. They have plans to mine a new part of land that is 60 feet deep, and the quantity of gold that they are looking for is 8,000 troy ounces. Parker is well aware that the absence of Brennan throughout this season would make things more complicated than usual, but despite this, they are determined to make it work nevertheless. However, the first pans of muck that they dig out from Muck Mountain only bring up a few flakes of gold here and there. This is a really disappointing turn of events. In spite of this setback, Parker makes the decision to proceed, putting his faith in the results of the drilling and thinking that the material will yield better results after it is processed through the wash facility. He does this because he is confident that the results will improve. The fact that Parker Schnabel is rapidly exhausting his supplies gives him with the challenge of scouting out new mining terrain, which he must do in order to continue his mining operations. He organizes a meeting of his workers in order to discuss the approach that will be employed for the forthcoming season, which will require mining a new part of ground that is 60 feet deep. In the meeting, they discuss the strategy that will be used. They believe that there could be 8,000 ounces of gold at the bottom, but they are aware that it will be a difficult endeavor that requires a different method than what they have used in the past. Despite this, they continue to maintain their optimistic estimate. Parker is aware that it won't be simple because Brennan won't be around this season, but he and the other members of the squad are determined to make it work, regardless of the challenges that they will face. As they move forward with the process of excavating the new ground, they run across obstacles here and there. Gold Rush is a hugely successful reality show that airs on Discovery Channel and features Parker Schnabel as the show's primary protagonist. The show focuses on the activities and endeavors of gold miners and diggers in the state of Alaska. Because of his consistent display of talent, Parker is an essential member of both the cast and the staff of the show. The show is his primary source of income. However, he also works at the Big Nugget mine, which was built by his grandfather, John Schnabel. During the 4th season, he put some of his money toward his education in preparation for starting his own mining business in the future. He was just declaring that he had a bright future in the business when he managed to unearth 1,029 ounces of gold in Klondike. This is proof that he has a bright future in the industry. Subscribed yet? Do so now for more thrilling updates on Gold Rush. The first few pans of mud from Mud Mountain turn out to be unproductive for Parker and his crew, as they only produce a few flakes of gold. Parker is concerned about the amount of time and resources that have already been committed in the project up to this point. In spite of the obstacle, he makes the decision to carry on and put his faith in the results of their drilling. They have high hopes that the material, after being processed by the wash facility, would produce more desirable results. As we wrap up this glittering chapter of Parker's journey, we're left with a heart full of awe and inspiration. The tale of mining, perseverance, and dreams fulfilled is one that will resonate for years to come. As the gold dust settles and the sun sets on this remarkable season, remember that the spirit of adventure and determination lives on. Join us next time for even more thrilling exploits, as Parker continues to chase his dreams and break new records. Until then, keep the spirit of discovery alive and let Parker's monumental achievement remind you that with passion and unwavering dedication, you too can unearth your own golden dreams. Thank you for being part of this incredible journey, and stay tuned for more epic adventures with Parker Schnabel. Until next time, keep your hopes high and your dreams even higher.
Gold digging is known to be a good way to make money, but as miners get better and go deeper, they find things other than gold. Some of these things are as useless as metal bits, while others are as valuable as gold itself. Let's look into how Parker finds mammoth tusks while he's looking for cash. Parker Schnabel's strange find. Parker Schnabel is used to getting his hands dirty and getting down on the ground when he's looking for money. He began working at the family mine when he was a youngster in the 1st season. Beginning with the 2nd season, the young man took over the family mines and has been one of the most famous gold miners ever since. Other mine bosses have a hard time, but Schnabel seems to have the Midas touch because his team gets thousands of ounces of gold every season, which is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. After 10 episodes on Gold Rush, Parker has saved up a dime wealth, which is thought to be around $10 million. He's not going to slow down anytime soon. However, the miner has found more than just gold in the fields. He told them about some other strange things he had seen on his trips. There is a lot of stuff buried here. There's a good chance that miners have found some strange things on their trips. Parker doesn't find gold, but he does find something that many archaeologists would love. In an interview with the Maelstrom, he talked about the strange thing he found while mining for gold and how it might be the most important thing he had that wasn't gold. It was interesting that he told them he had found a pair of well-preserved woolly mammoth teeth. These tusks are very well preserved because they are made of ivory and were buried in permafrost, which kept them safe from the cold weather. Some of them were found in perfect shape, even though woolly mammoths went extinct a very long time ago. Finding fossils of preserved bodies makes us think about what makes a thing. Alaska is a place where mammogram tusks are sometimes found. They have a lot of value and help an industry grow. Because these tusks are made of ivory, they can be very valuable if they are kept in good shape. In some cases, they can sell for more than $1 million each. Parker and his team on Gold Rush might not find anything more valuable than gold, but mammoth tusks are definitely among the most expensive things that have ever been found. To make a long story short, the mammoth tusks he found would be worth a lot of money, because people are willing to buy almost anything. But Schnabel says he won't sell the tusks, even though they are valuable and could be valuable. To sell those kinds of things, he would have to get a lot of different permits, which he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to kill the tusks, instead, he wants to keep them. He thinks they're really cool and that they shouldn't be sold. And no one can blame him. He already makes a lot of money from the gold he finds, so it makes sense for him to keep the strange things he finds along the way. Even more so when he can happily say that he owns well-preserved mammoth tusks. So, if you ever go to Parker Schnabel's house, don't be shocked if you find some huge mammoth teeth waiting for you. The huge tusks are the cherry on top of Parker's successful job choice. He doesn't seem like he's going to stop working anytime soon, so we can say that more finds are on the way. As of now, it looks like the search for an unusual prize on Gold Rush is far from over. A famous gold miner on the show found something truly amazing. Another strange find on Gold Rush, Tony Beats found something very important at his new spot in Paradise Hills. Instead of finding gold like most people do, he found a tusk that had a special meaning for this part of Alaska. While exploring the site, he saw the tusk sticking out of the ground. With the help of his son Mike and their tools, they were able to dig up the bone, which Mike at first thought was a jawbone. Tony chose to have paleontologists look at it more closely. The remains of a woolly mammoth that was found earlier may be related to the tusks that were found on Gold Rush, according to experts. Since the Klondike Gold Rush more than 100 years ago, miners have kept finding these kinds of bones. One of the best things about the Yukon area is that it is known for finding animals from the Ice Age. Others had heard that Tony had found the bones of horses and zebras before, but this one made people think of the woolly mammoth. Gold Rush says that the baby mammogram is at least 30,000 years old, and the ground and ice in the area are thought to have kept the animals alive during the Ice Age. During the Gold Rush, people saw more strange things than just elephant tusks. Miners have seen things besides the god they were looking for. Parker saw something that blew his mind in particular. Meeting the welcome stranger face to face. Parker Schnabel almost passed out when he saw a copy of Welcome Stranger. It is the biggest gold nugget that has ever been found. We saw that he was half a world away from the Klondike Gold Rush Trail in Season 4, Episode 2 called Installment of Gold Rush Parker's Trail. He was looking for new experiences and chances. At the start of the show, Parker and his partner Fred Lewis were greeted by Tyler Mahoney, a fourth-generation Australian gold prospector. She opened her truck door and put a 2-foot-long golden boulder across the back seat. A story says that the welcome stranger was so big that it had to be broken in 3 on a hammer so that it could fit on a bank scale. The nugget would be worth about $4.7 million if it were sold today at the rate at which Hold is sold. The original Welcome Stranger was turned into gold bars a long time ago, but 2 perfect copies are still around. 2 of them are on show in Melbourne's old Treasury building. One is owned by Deason's descendants and is kept there. The one that was taken from Mahoney's truck is thought to belong to the Deason family, and column built in 1897 still stands in Molliagel to mark the spot where the nugget was found. Parker and no other modern gold miner found it, so the question is, who made this huge find that even Parker couldn't believe it? The Victorian Gold Rush happened in the 1850s, when a lot of people with big dreams went to Victoria, Australia, to try to make money. They came from all over Australia and other places around the world. I felt very happy for a short time. Some people hit it big and were rich for life, but for most, they never got that rich. It was true for 2 Cornish miners on February 5, 1869. Luck did come their way. John Deason was born on Tresco in the Isles of Scilly. When he was 1 year old, his fishing father drowned, and the family moved to Pendeen in West Cornwall. In this place, he met Richard Oates, who would become his partner. In the 1851 census, both of them were working in the tin mines of Cornwall. It was 1853 when Mr. Deason moved to Australia, And a year later, Mr. Oates did the same thing to become a gold prospector. They went to Molia-Gul in 1862 and made a living there for 7 years. Then, in 1864, they hit gold. They found the amazing thing that made history, a huge piece of gold wrapped in quartz that was hidden just below the surface of a slope called Bulldog Gully. Mr. Deason wrote that he tried to use the pick to pick up the rock, but the handle broke because it was so big. He then got a crowbar and dug the nugget out of the ground. It was weighed at the London Chartered Bank in Dunolly, which is about 12 miles away. The nugget was broken up right away because the scales were too big to make a model or take pictures of it. Because people who saw it remember it, a drawing was made of it, and there is now a copy in the Dunolly Museum. Miners in places with lots of gold keep finding important things. For sure, Parker Schnabel has shown that he is a strong person. Let's take a quick look back at his amazing journey. The sparkling nugget. Parker had to find his way through a world full of new claims and cutting-edge technology advances in Season 10 of Gold Rush. A big event happened in the middle of all the digging activity. The electrified nugget was found. Parker, his team, and Gold Rush fans were all very excited about the find because it was so rare and special. When Parker set out on his quest, people were most excited about finding bigger and better things. He hoped to haul and grow his business across Klondike and Scribner Creek. The electric nugget was about 41.8 ounces in weight and got its name from a dendritic crystal attic that looked like lightning bolts. The nugget's unique feature makes it stand out from other finds and a rare natural wonder, which raises its value above its face value. As the season went on, episode 15, $1 Million Payday, became a strong candidate for showing the exciting secret. In the end, the explosive nugget adds a brilliant chapter to Parker's history of gold mining. Its market value is high because it is hard to find and has a beautiful crystal structure. It will always be remembered as an important and memorable gold rush find. The bounty at Eureka Creek. Parker set out on a dangerous adventure at the start of Season 7 of Gold Rush. He learned about how hard the mining business is by dealing with problems like broken equipment, unstable hold yields, and the risks of unexplored terrain. Even so, he wasn't going to give up. He invested in cutting-edge technology and tweaked his business to meet his challenges and make a huge recovery. Around the middle of the season, there was a big change, and watchers saw Parker's work at Eureka Creek start to pay off. After that, there was a long time of impressive gold recovery, which is where the name Eureka Creek Bounty comes from. The peak of this reward was reached by episodes like Eureka Payday and Kingknoff Klondike. Parker always found a lot of gold, going above and beyond what fans expected and what he had found before. It was impossible to hold back their happiness as the team enjoyed the results of their hard work and persistence. One thing that makes the Eureka Creek Bounty unique is that it was a turning point. Parker's constant success in finding gold in the area made him a leader in the tough world of gold mining. Because he kept having success, he was able to move his business to other places and buy better technology and tools. Even though Parker has found a lot of gold, he is still losing money. Since he started working as a miner when he was 16, he has lost a lot of money. Allow us to look at some of the losses he has went through. A huge $3 million loss. Parker and his team put a lot of money into an area in Alaska and then got 108 ounces of gold from the waste that old gold miners left behind. But what really made things better was an area called the Wolf Cut. It was untouched land that was thought to have more than 2,000 ounces of gold and be worth more than $3 million. They even called this Wolf Cut the most important pit of the season because of how much information it gave them. Parker's crew needed 2 months just to get to the pay layer of the cut because the area is so deep. Things don't always go as planned, though. That's how things were for the team. A terrible flood a few weeks ago turned the Wolf into a lake. Because it was so hard, Parker thought it would be better to take all the money and go to Vegas than to drown in the Wolf Cut. Parker, who was known for being stubborn, wouldn't just give up the place. After some trouble, the team was able to push back the water, and Mark Fors, who was in charge of the operation, finally came down to get the treasure. Parker was keen to find out if there was enough gold for them to risk everything. He went to one spot and moved the dirt around, but it needed to be better. He finally found some fine dirt in another part of the cut, which meant there was gold there. Parker chose to go work and come back in 2 days with the crew. But just when it looked like everything was going to plan and they were going to get some gold, something shocked the whole crew. There was a hole in the wall and mud and water were pouring out of it. It was clear that Mother Nature was not on their side that day. The water that they thought they had gotten rid of was back, but this time it was stronger and a bigger problem than the last time. People on the crew didn't think this would happen. The wolf cut could be filled with it again, which would mean a big loss. An excavator hit the side of the pit while digging for pay at the bottom of the cut. This revealed a mine shaft that was full of water, which flooded millions of gallons of water back into the pit and filled the pay grounds. There was nothing wrong with the crew's preparation, they just needed to be more ready. They had one 8-inch pump, but they needed more to get the job done. The second pump was turned on, but it didn't make a big difference. There was still water coming in from all sides. The team lost the battle against the water after they turned on both pumps. They had no choice but to take the pump out of the wash plant. It was such a big choice, though, and Parker should have made the call. The problem was that he wasn't there or answering his phone. They were in a tough spot. The area would flood if they didn't pull the pump from the wash plant to help the other two pumps, and they would lose their pay in the wolf cut. It would be hard to believe how much would be lost. Tyler made the tough choice to turn off the wash plant and remove its pump, which doubled their ability to drain. They had to leave the area while the pumps did their thing. In 24 hours, the pumps took away 10 million gallons of water. Parker finally came back, and he was very excited to see the first edit of the wolf cut. Instead, people told him stories about the flood that had happened. Parker's trouble with water was still going on, though. In a different story, he came into contact with water again when his mining ground in the wolf cut was taken over by water. Underwater mine site. Parker was looking for a pay streak in the 4-acre wolf cut on his Alaskan claim. He hoped that it would bring him at least 1,000 ounces this season. The pay dirt was 30 feet below, and the team had to dig out 1,000 yards of extra material to get to it. 4 feet more, and they would be below water. After that, it would be 30 feet before they hit rocks. But things weren't really fine as they seemed at first. The process was going on right next to a pond, and water would be the first thing that would go wrong if something went wrong. Frozen mud was the best option because it kept the water out. Recruit John Baudry was told to deal with the mud and keep the water out, but it looked like the cut was pretty wet, so they had to call their boss. If not, things will go badly if they do. It turned out that the mud got worse and spread faster as they opened up more areas. They still hadn't even cut out a fifth of the area. The wolf cut is next to a pond that is pretty old. There was only a small berm between them, not strong enough to stand up to the water pressure if it was messed with. They dug down and found frozen ice that stopped the water from getting in. The permafrost was broken, which now lets pond water seep through the wall and flood the cut. The area will soon have a lot of water if they let it keep going. There was a need for action to save the day. They thought getting a pump would be the best thing for them to do. To fight the water, Parker planned to dig a sunk pond in the cut that was as deep as it could go and put in an 8-inch pump to drain it. He was not going to lose another water fight. After setting it up, they had to wait until the next day. Their plan as a whole was good and seemed like it would work, but how do they choose a pump to drain water that big from a pond without first making sure it works and fixing any problems it might have? The next day, everyone on the team walked outside to see their perfectly dry and ready-to-med wolf cut, but they were about to get a bad surprise. They couldn't find their pump anywhere. It looked like the pump was gone, and instead of a cutting that was completely dry, they found a lake. The pump had terrible problems filling the cut and putting the pump 4 feet below the water. $500,000 were about to slip through their hands. The pump was so deep that they couldn't even walk up to it. Tyson had to pull a small kayak out with a chain in the excavator to get the pump to dry ground where they could work on it. Mark Force, the foreman, said that the debris was blocking the suction filter at the end of the hose, which caused the water level to rise and cover the whole pump. To make sure that more flooding wouldn't hurt the pump, he had to take the engine apart and repair it. Parker has shown that he is not easily upset by losses. In fact, he's had a lot of them. In spite of everything, he did something that shocked both miners and fans, putting an end to a season with $14 million in gold. Parker Schnabel and his team were starting a season that might change everything about gold mine. When it was really cold outside, the risks went up because every shovelful of dirt could make or break their dream. As soon as the season began, there was a sense of urgency, and Parker worked around the clock to coordinate his team's attempts to find the valuable material. The difficult conditions in Alaska were not taken lightly. They put their mental health to the test. They were determined to find their prize, even though the terrain was dangerous and some of the tools they were using didn't work right. Parker had to carefully plan every move because he was in charge of this determined group. His leadership skills had been honed over the years through failures and successes. Expectations were high, but he didn't let that stop him from leading his team through the dangerous terrain. He was motivated by the belief that the Klondike held the key to a life-changing fortune that, when found, would make all of their problems seem small. They finally made progress after a long time when they found a rich seam that went on and on below the frozen ground. It was impossible to contain the excitement in the mine camp when they found a way to do it and a large deposit of gold that would make their whole season different. After a string of setbacks and dashed dreams, the Klondike finally gave up the treasure it held. The huge job of getting the gold out of the frozen ground was still to be done, and Parker was in charge of it. Good news gets around quickly, and this finding does too. The news spread like a blaze through California, getting the attention of both supporters and opponents of mining. Parker and his group were put in the spotlight, and everyone was watching to see how the process would go. This put a lot of pressure on the crew. It looked like they might get $1 million haul. The crew had to race against time as winter got colder. This was another thing that would determine their success. The process of mining sped up, and heavy equipment was used to dig up the gold-filled dirt. When they worked together, it was amazing, and shocking things were found in the gold room where they kept their loot. Parker Schnabel told them how much money they had stolen, with a mix of pride and shock. $14 million worth of gold. People on his team, among miners, fans, and skeptics, were all amazed by this amazing feat. This season of Gold Rush will always be remembered as one of the best in Klondike history. Parker makes $364,000 in gold after getting rookie operator to move Slucifer. Parker, who had a lot of knowledge, kept showing off his accomplishments all these years. Not long ago, he did something even more amazing. He made $364,000 in gold by getting a new operator to move the Slucifer. The project already owed a huge $15 million, and Parker didn't know how to get out of this mess. There were daily costs and pressing repairs that needed to be done. There was some hope in the idea of getting a $160 million payday in the Dominion, but there were many unknowns along the way. It became clear when he admitted that the whole thing was making him feel pretty worried. He felt a little uneasy for the first time in a few years. He wasn't alone, though, which was good. His team would be there for him no matter what. To save the working bodies, Tyson had to take on everything. He got permission to use the mine from Ken Tatlow and Stuart Schmidt, and then began the impossible job of making the experience great again. No one expected the first cut to be so bad, and it took a lot longer than anyone thought it would. As soon as Parker realized how important it was, the pressure rose. He thought Tyson would be able to get up soon. The determination of Parker stayed strong, even though the work to prepare the new spot was hard. He went on to say that while he was getting El Dorado ready, he thought he had a lot of time. But when he was getting the next plant pad ready, he realized he didn't. As Parker dealt with the problems at El Dorado, everyone was left wondering if his unwavering determination would help him get through the tough times and find the gold stores that could make his mining project a success. Parker and Tyson were both involved in the El Dorado. Moving the wash plant at the El Dorado cut was a huge task that turned some important events in Tyson's life. They had everything they needed except time, because the process had to be done by a certain date. The due date for this job was Sunday, and if it was completed successfully, it would be able to stay alive. The plot jumbled up money problems, practical issues, and the almost constant search for the jackpot at Dominion into a mess of problems that needed to be carefully handled. The financial situation added another level of difficulty to the story. The operation, which was already a financial puzzle, was done with the worry of possible bills and the costs of running the business. As I watch them, I can't help but wonder, will this smart move help them find the gold mines they were looking for? Or will it be a big mistake on the crazy road of gold mining? At some point in this nail-biting story, you couldn't help but wonder, would Parker Schnabel's huge risk pay off? Or would his growing financial responsibilities and practical problems make it impossible for him to reach his goal of finding a gold mine? Dominion is a world where gold rules and fortunes can change in an instant. Parker Schnabel found himself in a very bad spot. Now is the time for the dream of the unreachable gold to change. Along with it came hard times financially, so the business could stay open. The heat had almost made this area its home. It makes me wonder what it's like to be ruled over. The answer is as easy as the question, but it beautifully describes the harsh conditions these miners have to work in every day. The word Domian means sovereign, and the people who were looking for treasure buried in its land often tell it what its rules are. Another look at the area points to the harshness that is hidden by the light. Parker and his team's determination should definitely be praised. Recently, the weather has gone up, which has raised the bar for what is acceptable. This seemingly normal talk showed how hard these people's lives were. They had to work from dawn until dusk in the hot sun. The next step was to sluice there, but that wasn't official yet. As the thought of starting the sluicing process set in, there was a sense of excitement in the air. After some time, they said that sluicing wouldn't happen because they needed to get better at it first before moving the business. The team was eager to start sluicing, but first, they had to make some strategic choices. There was a lot of tension in the gold mining business because Tico, who was making efforts to make things run more smoothly, set a hard goal. As the order echoed through the mining site, the story unfolded quickly. Tico wanted the plant to begin buzzing before morning. The attention then turned to Tyson, whose scary job it was to move sluice fur around on a pole that wasn't stable. Tyson had to make up sluice fur out of a leaning stick he had lying around. The language used made it clear that the business was sloppy and rushed, even if no one knew how to make learning staff. Putting pressure on Tyson became an important part of the story, a major source of tension that gave the story more depth. To move the sluice fur, you had to have a steady hand and a lot of skill that you learned over time. Tyson had to deal with a lack of experienced hands while working on a tough job. Alec and Liam helped out the last time, and it looked like they were going to drag Lucifer while Evan Kurtz, who was just an operator and didn't know how to move a wash plant, moved Lucifer. The moving of the wash plant was complicated by the fact that parts had to be slung up to the sluice fur and then pulled down to the new pad by the 750. The main reason it was hard to do was because changing wash plants was hard to do when there were already few hands available. As Tyson and Evan took on the job of moving the pieces of sluice fur to its new location, the story took an interesting turn. It wasn't just a jump that was being planned, it was a symbolic risk in the dangerous world of gold mining. Once sluice fur was taken apart piece by piece, sharing could be seen as both a risky move and a game of chance. People who watched this story grow as a dynamic journey had to think about what would happen with the operation and the luck that was going on at the same time. Everything that was done in the world of gold mining had the power to change the whole course of the season, even sluice fur's seemingly random jump. The 45-ton wash plant, sluice fur, that held the promise of $364,000 in gold hung over their heads. Tyson and his team had to carefully move sluice fur so that the process would go as planned. To get to its new wash plant pad, sluice fur had to go up a steep ramp, which was hard to do because of the environment. Tyson used the 750 excavator, which was the best one on site at the time, to help carry the heavy Lucifer up the hill because he knew it was a period piece. As the story goes on, there is an amazing scene of bravery as they try to get around their opponent. But behind it all is the dangerous operation. The shot was tense because of the way the land was angled and how rude the Washington plant was. The wash plant started to slowly but surely rise because Tyson knew how to use everything he had at the time in a strategic way. From the first few steps toward the wash plant, you could feel the stress in the story, and Tyson's main point made the already difficult task even harder. He said that his bucket would be used as a small wrench. He talked about how you need to be able to adapt and be creative when you run into problems you didn't expect. At this point, everyone is almost in pain from the fight and can feel the strain of the hard mental and physical work that needs to be done to get the sluice fur where it needs to be. Tyson's smart use of the bucket as a makeshift crowbar showed how important it was to be able to think quickly and change to survive in the unpredictable world of gold mining. So the operation as a whole relied on the team, and how well they did in this last stage was crucial to achieving the overall goal of a successful season in the Dominion. If this last step is completed successfully, not only will the difficult task be over, but Parker Schnabel will also have the chance to reach his big season goal. The team's ability to deal with the difficulty of this important configuration determined whether the whole operation succeeded or failed. As soon as the work was done, the wash plant set firmly on the pad, giving everyone a sense of readiness and accomplishment. The construction of the conveyor and the hopper feeder was a big deal in and of itself. It was a clear sign that gold processing was about to start. After following this high-stakes operation through all of its changes and surprises, I couldn't help but feel satisfied. There was a promise of gold worth $364,000 off in the distance. The problems were solved, and now everyone was waiting for the next part of Parker Schnabel's story. This move could change everything for Parker. It could get him a big payday and help him beat the challenges of gold digging in Dominion. After finding $364,000 in gold, he was making smart decisions, like letting a new operator move the Slucifer, which was the most important job. Using Slucifer and Gold Rush has had a big effect on the show and the people who watch it. Slucifer's demonstration of cutting-edge technology shows how the gold mining business has changed over time. The time was running out, and every second counted as they looked for the hard-to-find gold that would decide whether the mission succeeded or failed. Parker said he liked how the move was organized. After the rig move, the story went on to look at the day after. Everyone was so eager to hear the result that they stood on edge to listen. They knew that today's machine was the only one that could tell them how productive the whole season had been. The news of the golden sample led to both hope and disappointment. We called that sluicing. Parker was looking for a 5,000-ounce endonym to keep his business from going through a lot of trouble. He needed 300 ounces of water a week to get it. For the team, this was the last payment thanks to Parker's Vice, a 5,000-ounce season worth $364,000. After that, the count by the number of ounces showed that there was, in fact, a pileup that was different from the group's weekly goal, but still impressive.
All right, 20, 40, 60, 70, 110, 120.
Eventually, they will discover gold valued at $240,000. Consequently, what strategies did they employ to overcome their obstacles? How did they manage to function amidst severe weather conditions? As we investigate alongside Parker, he discovers gold valued at $240,000 on Tony Beat's claim. How it all began. In a brief period of time, Parker Schnabel and his team have never before mined more ground than they do now, following the completion of a deal with Tony Beats. Prior to the conclusion of the season, he must complete the task, and spring is considered the ideal time to set things up. They have resolved to exert maximum effort in the pursuit of completing it prior to the autumn, in the hopes of attaining a favorable result. Although the team harbors skepticism regarding their capacity to complete the project within the allotted timeframe, they maintain an optimistic outlook. Nona Lovelace affirms that this year's sprint is a complete sprint, as the anticipated completion date is in the spring. A member of the team, Tatiana Costa, exclaims that the quantity of snowfall they encountered was indescribable, as each surface was blanketed in dense snow that demanded additional exertion to clear. She then transports the frozen overburden to the waste pile in order to make room for additional labor. Following 4 days of operations proceeding as scheduled and equipment functioning flawlessly, the team avidly awaits the verdict of the novel Tony Beats claim, not anticipating any adverse consequences. Following the completion of 4 days of machine operation, the team becomes eagerly anticipating the outcome of the new Tony Beats claim, cognizant of the effort they have invested. As a consequence, the total weight of the gold realized was 137.8, which is approximately $240,000. The group expresses gratitude to Tony Beats and recognizes the possibility of a hectic season. They ponder the difficulties, the readiness of the apparatus, and the promising beginning to the season. Parker concluded by expressing gratitude to the entire team for returning for a second season, for their contributions to the success of the project, for the team's inspection of the used equipment, and for putting in so much effort to ensure the project's success. Gold Rush elevated the profile of the youthful and prosperous gold miner Parker Schnabel to prominence. He was born in Haines, Alaska, on July 22, 1994, into a family with a significant heritage in the gold mining industry. Parker became a member of Gold Rush during its second season at the tender age of 17. Despite his youth, he exhibited remarkable prowess in the field of gold extraction and a diligent work ethic. Parker achieved the distinction of becoming the youngest mining foreman in the history of the Klondike during his time on the program. Since assuming control of the Big Nugget mine from his patriarch, John Schnabel, his mining operations have grown. Parker has confronted a multitude of obstacles, encompassing apparatus failures, severe weather circumstances, and the demands of managing a prosperous mining enterprise. Despite earning millions of dollars annually, he does not retain the entire amount for personal use. He employs a team, and while their precise remuneration remains undisclosed, it is probable that they amass a considerable fortune when they unearth substantial quantities of gold over the course of a season. Parker abandoned his studies in favor of excavating, with the expectation of uncovering not only a hidden treasure but also an entire way of living. A substantial quantity of gold was discovered by Parker Schnabel and his team in the second season of Gold Rush. They obtained 34 ounces worth a total of $55,000. Parker was profoundly affected by this discovery, which motivated him to continue with the program and mining thereafter. Parker Schnabel estimated that the largest fragment of gold he had ever discovered weighed no more than a quarter ounce and was valued at between $400 and $500. He elaborated that it is uncommon to discover gems of that size and that the gold industry has undergone significant transformations since his grandfather began working in it in the 1980s. Parker Schnabel is determined to improve this time around. A depth of approximately 40 feet must be dug by him and his crew in order to discover the gold. But it is expensive. Thousands of dollars must be added to the $15 million that he has already invested in the property. Further, this serves as the initial stage. This season, Parker is confronted with a critical choice that has the potential to alter the course of his mining career. Parker Schnabel aims to surpass his previous record of discovering 300 ounces of gold with a value of $9 million. He is now setting an even more ambitious goal, obtaining 6,000 ounces from the Indian River. Confronting the difficulties of the Klondike, he is resolute and perseverant. A great deal of determination is anticipated from him throughout this thrilling voyage. Audiences have witnessed Parker's leadership, determination, and capacity to make difficult decisions under duress throughout the course of the series. His reputation stems from the fact that he challenges himself and his crew to accomplish lofty objectives. Parker Schnabel, notwithstanding the fluctuations, has emerged as one of the most accomplished and widely recognized individuals in the film Gold Rush. Gold Rush featured a diverse workforce of crew members who were integral to Parker Schnabel's mining operations. Every member made a contribution that aligned with the initial plan for the project's success. What are your reflections on this particular occurrence of Parker's conquest? Additionally, for more thrilling adventures, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. Continue to be tuned for more.